Really special to be back in camp. This time of year is always exciting for our staff and for our players. You know, sat up here a year ago and talked about what an exciting opportunity it was with Coach Saban bringing us here and what we had in front of us and the challenges that we had with a first year together as a staff and a first year quarterback. I think sitting up here in a second year, what you really start to understand and appreciate even more is Coach Saban and really how the process works here, and to see going into a second off season through the recruiting, through spring ball and now fall camp, how unique it is and how special it is and what a great place it is to be, and also to have our whole offensive staff back for a second year. They really did a great job, helped me a lot in transition coming here. We did a lot of things similar to what had been done and some different things, but they were a very integral part in that, and we look forward to new challenges this year. It is a different year, obviously, with our personnel. What we do and we've always done is we'll always find the best way to feature our players and really build our system around our players, as opposed to take our system and make our players do that system. I think last year really showed that a lot in the challenges with coming in, bringing in a new system, changing some terminology, keeping some, and then the players involved. Once Blake won the starting job, really Blake made us better, and we changed what we had done for Blake and really went to a different approach, one that's probably been documented as far as no huddle and playing faster and more plays and yards and points and all those things. But a reminder, as I said before too, that was Coach Saban. You know, that was Coach Saban coming in, and really shows how he is always trying to improve the program, always trying to change no matter what it is if it makes the program better. Went to an offense that really was not something that had been done here before, because that was his idea. You know, obviously the success as opposed to sitting around and not joining what other people are doing. We did that, and our players did a great job in that. Now, we lost a lot of experience, and really 9 starters we lost, including our third receiver in Christian, but really savvy players. You know, there are a bunch of players in the NFL, really good players, but they were savvy with a lot of snaps behind them, and we were able to make a lot of adjustments in game with our players, especially our skilled guys on offense. So, you know, at the end of the day, that chapter's been written. It was exciting, but it's time to move forward, and we got a lot of new challenges in front of us. We returned 2 starters in Ryan Kelly and Cam Robinson, who are very good players and need to lead us up front. So obviously there's a lot of competition at other spots, and the quarterback spot, I'm sure there'll be questions about that, but really it comes to this. All the guys are getting an opportunity. They're working extremely hard. We're not going to get into individuals or what this guy's doing, what this guy is, and we've only been through 3 practices, but it is a wide open competition, and just like last year, the best guy will win it whenever he wins it. You know, we don't have a timetable when that's going to be. They'll decide that, we won't.
Start with Chris Walsh right here in the black.
Lane, I was at Ole Miss's media day the other day and I asked your brother if he said anything to you about last year's game, and he said he didn't have to. What's that like to face your brother and to coach against him?
Yeah, that was not a fun day, but I did see him at the beach in July, and he did say something about it. So, but they did a great job, and Hugh Freeze has done a great job with them, and then especially on defense. You know, they play extremely hard on defense. They run to the ball, led the country in scoring last year. We've obviously watched them a lot in the offseason because we need to do a better job against them. We really haven't done a very good job in 3 years against them, even though winning the first 2 games. So, we'll have our work cut out for us. They return a bunch of players, and they're really good up front.
Right here with Mark.
How do you envision using a player like O.J. Howard, and what does he bring to the table with his skill set?
Yeah, questions about O.J. Howard and using him. Again, we're going to find our players and get them the ball the best way we can. And it's not, I've said before, it's not Little League where everybody gets the same amount of touches. You know, we got to do what's best to win. And so you saw that last year with Amari, everything being so lopsided. And, you know, but it came down to, okay, if he's your best player, give him the ball. You know, it's a basketball mentality. You know, if LeBron's got 30 at half, you're not going to stop passing to him. So I think Amari had 47 catches in the first quarter of games alone. So now he's gone. And so where are those catches going to go? And I would think OJ would be a lot of that. He's a very special player, and he works extremely hard, like Amari did. Amari's one of the hardest workers on the field I've ever been around. Probably Amari and Reggie, and OJ and Derek now are kind of those next two guys where you see them out there working every day. So hopefully OJ has a really big year.
Cecil.
Coach, just to follow up a little bit on what you said about adapting to Blake's skill set last year. This year, do you take some of those things out, put other things in for the guys that you have, whoever it turns out to be?
Yeah, that's a little bit difficult because we don't know who it is yet. So we're kind of doing a bunch of different stuff and looking at new things like we always do in the off season. And then once we figure out who it is, we'll work the system to the things that they do best.
Aaron, right here.
Lane, last year with the success that you had with Blake and Amari, did it reaffirm to you your skills as a play caller and ability to create mismatches?
I don't really think of it that way. I think for the most part we've had pretty good success where we've been as far as moving the ball and getting the balls to our playmakers. So, but it was fun last year. It was really fun to see the players. It was fun to see Blake's story unfold. You know, it was fun to see Amari because of how hard he worked, even though everybody knew about him, for him to have the season he has. And you'd love to see those stories go that way, and now he's a top 5 pick. And so you can use those for kids every year coming in. You know, here's a story of a guy who did everything that we asked and more, and then it paid off for him.
Back on the other side, John.
You mentioned the guys that you lost in offense, Amari obviously being a big one, a part of that. You've got 2 really young guys, talented young guys coming in Daylon and Calvin, very highly regarded, very highly recruited. What have you seen from them so far, and what kind of impact could they have in their first year here?
Yeah, Daylon first has done a really good job through 3 practices coming in, catches the ball extremely well, runs good routes, and you know, hopefully he'll be able to play for us this year. Calvin has really kind of showed some elite talent of guys of over the years of receivers we've been able to be around, a couple Blitnikoff winners and a bunch of All-Americans. He's shown that talent. Now that's a long ways to go to get to that level, but his speed and the way that he catches the ball in his transition, if he does the other things all the way through, which is a lot, he could be really special.
John Zener right here in the blue.
Kind of a follow-up on the receivers. There are some returning guys that you saw some last year, like Ardarius and Robert Foster. How have those guys developed, and do you kind of feel more confident now than maybe you did just looking at the roster after the season? Yeah,
I think anytime players have to play, you know, they do better a lot of times than people think they will, because now they have to, and so they unfortunately sometimes they don't prepare the same way till they're really playing as much as we tell them to. And so I think we saw Ardarius kind of make a transition in the year there. There was even a time where we really had him as our 3rd receiver. I want to say Mississippi State game, where we were trying to get him the ball, and then he got injured and didn't finish the year like we liked. But Ardarius is as talented, probably the most talented guy that we have, and has made some significant plays, even in games or in the spring made some plays in some scrimmages. So we just got to get him to kind of take it to the next level where he can be an every down player. Robert Foster has flashed very fast, showed us a really good skill set. Again, just need to continue to be more consistent.
Right here, Dwayne, Alex.
Coach, just 2 things. One, where has Jacob shown the most improvement from last year to now? And 2, when you've got 5 or 6 guys competing for the spot, does it make it more difficult to look at each guy because you're trying to get reps for each person?
Yeah, like I said, we're not going to get in a lot of individuals with each guy. Jake, I think the one thing about Jake is there was probably too much put on Jake right away. I think you would compare it to an NFL quarterback, a rookie quarterback that held out, you know, because he didn't have spring ball, and people forget about that, and you know, all of a sudden the guy just comes in and is supposed to be the guy. So I think that was a difficult situation he was put in, and he handled it really well. Continues to work really hard. As far as having 5 quarterbacks, it does make it difficult, but the other way to look at it is if you eliminate 1 or 2, you might be eliminating the wrong guy. We sat up here, you know, 1 year ago, and we didn't know who our quarterback was going to be at that time, and so you gotta let it play out and let them decide.
Alex.
Lane, this spring several players mentioned that they've been playing with more shotgun, more tempo. What do you expect in the second year of your offense? Especially in terms of pace, do you think it's going to get faster or what?
I think that all depend on our players, and not just our players, but the style of our team. How's our defense, special teams playing? How's that individual game going? So that's what Coach Saban's, one of the many things he's so great at is the day of the game. That morning, we're going to have a really long meeting, and that's going to figure out how the game's going to go in the different ways that it could, and how we're going to play in the style that we're going to play. We're just not going to play a certain way no matter what. We're going to play to win the game, and not worry about what the score is, but make sure that we put our players in the best position to win the game regardless of the situation.
Back over here, Michael and then Matt.
How would you describe just the identity? What do you want the identity of this offense to be?
Yeah, again, with so many question marks with our personnel, obviously we want to be tough and physical. We want to run the ball. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to run the ball. You watch the national champs, Ohio State, run the ball. Well, they're not running the ball the old conventional way. They're running it a different way, and they're spread out doing different things. So it's not necessarily the formations and the way that you run it. It's the style that you run it in and how physical that we want to be. So we want to run the ball and be physical. We have to figure out as our personnel unfolds, who are those players doing that? Not just running the ball, but what are the skills and what are the personnels that we're using?
Two more. Matt.
Lane, for you personally, were any of the calls after last season even slightly intriguing? And is this kind of just a year-to-year thing for you at this point where you sit down at the end of the season and just kind of evaluate where things stand and I guess what's on the table?
Yeah, I don't, until the end of the year when those things happen, I don't think about it. You sign your contract and you go to work, and then you worry about that stuff afterwards. So calls that come, obviously you're going to listen to them and stuff, but I just really felt that we had done so many good things in year one, but this chapter wasn't over yet. There's still so many things to learn from coach, and just going into the off season, it's kind of like being a freshman. I've said that to one of our new coaches. Like, I feel like a sophomore now. Where last year you're a freshman, you're just kind of trying to figure it out. You're just trying to get your scripts ready, get to practice and stuff, and now you really start to understand why and how he does everything and why it's so successful.
Last question here for Ken.
This year you guys got to work, very limited, but some contact over the summer. What kind of carryover did you see from your quarterback group, and was that time helpful?
Yeah, I think that time was very helpful, even though we didn't have a ball out there for all of our players, not just quarterbacks, but especially our young players. Like, we went to our first practice, and normally it's a split practice with the freshmen, separate than the varsity splitting your squad, and we didn't need to do that. Coach made a decision just to have one practice because the younger guys now, because about half of them are mid-years nowadays, they get here in January, and the other ones are here in summer, and we're able to work with them. Those kids are a lot further ahead than they used to be, and I think you'll see more and more freshmen play because of that.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming.